Good morning, Northeast Radio SD. It's Friday the 13th, but we've got live with us. We've got some positive stuff. Nathan Sanderson with the South Dakota Retailers Association for our We Believe in Business segment. Nathan, are you coming through this morning for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, Stephen. Happy Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it is. There's sometimes a little bit of a scare to people, but I think we might have some positive news, hopefully, for people. Are things going good now that the session's wrapped up in Pierre, or how do you think everything went?
Well, I think it's absolutely a positive development that the legislature has gavelled out for the year. I absolutely think that's true. This year was an interesting one. Of course, for the South Dakota Retailers Association, we're the Retailers Association, restaurant, hospitality, grocery. We have a lot of tradespeople who are members. And so we're actively involved in the legislative session that just wrapped up its main run yesterday. This year was a very prolific year for bills introduced, 570 bills, most in probably a couple of decades. Of those bills, the Retailers Association tracked 240. So we're north of 40% of the bills that were introduced that we tracked this last session.
240. So what's the primary focus for retailers, you think, this session, or maybe now that it's kind of wrapped up?
Well, there were a lot of sort of high-level topics. I mean, certainly the budget was one. If folks recall, back in December, when Governor Roden proposed his budget for, when the governor does that, he, of course, proposes for the end of this current fiscal year, which is fiscal year 2026, and ends at the end of June. And then he's also proposing a budget for fiscal year 2027, which, of course, is the end of June of 2027. So when he's doing that in December of 25, they're trying to project out 18 months, in what revenues are going to look like and expenses are going to look like. And so if you folks recall, for the big three, that would be the salaries and benefits for state employees, that'd be the state funding for healthcare providers, and then state assistance for education. At the time in December, he was proposing 0% increases for those big three that we've called them for years. Ultimately, the revenue estimates improved in December, in January of this year, and then in February of this year. And so ultimately, the legislature was able to provide 1.4% increases for the big three in fiscal year 2027. And as an aside, it's kind of amazing how, again, we're looking out 18 months ahead, and the revenues for just a 3-month period, December, January, and February, changed what that future budget picture would look like enough to provide 1.4% increases. So the budget folks at the Bureau of Finance and Management, and then also in the Legislative Research Council, have a tall order in front of them, and they did a nice job.
Very good. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the bills maybe that might affect some of our members. There's one about this nicotine licensure. Do you think that might affect some of the convenience stores or specialty shops? They talk about a special license where $250 for general retailers. Is it $500 if nicotine makes up to 50% or more of gross income? Is that something that you think will affect some retailers?
Well, yes. So that bill was Senate Bill 221, and then it was partnered with a companion bill, House Bill 1220. Ultimately, right now in South Dakota, if a business, say a convenience store or a grocery store or something, wants to sell tobacco products, they register with the Department of Revenue. It's a free registration. And then those products are taxed at the wholesale level, and a retail business can't sell, say, a pack of cigarettes unless they have a tobacco stamp on it, a tax stamp on it. Vaping doesn't have those kind of regulations yet, but this legislative session, a number of changes came to those kinds of products. The first is that for wholesalers, not manufacturers, not retailers, but wholesalers, the middlemen. They have a $1,000 registration fee each, and they need to register with license with the Department of Revenue. And then related to that for Senate Bill 221 was retail licensure. And so every single business, grocery store, convenience store, whatever, that sells vaping products, or I should say nicotine products, so that would include tobacco and vaping products and any other nicotine kind of thing, Zins, pouches, chewing tobacco, whatever. All of those businesses now, as of July 1st of this year, are going to need to get a license from the Department of Revenue. So you're going to have, it's actually a $200 license fee. We were able to work with the sponsor to get that rolled down a little bit, but it's a $200 license fee if less than half of your business is through nicotine products. It's a $300 license fee if it's more than 50% of your business. There are a variety of other provisions in there, including that businesses need to acquire all of their products through a licensed wholesaler. There are random inspection provisions. There are penalty provisions. But the main thing for small business owners is, starting July 1st, you're going to need to start to work with the Department of Revenue to get that license. Ultimately, the entire bill goes into effect, or the licensure provisions go into effect, January 1st of next year. So businesses do have a little bit of time, but it's going to be a change for those businesses, and obviously a new license and a new fee.
All right. We saw, this is kind of making some headlines, but for grocery stores and retailers who accept SNAP, House Bill 1056, it requires the state to request a federal waiver to exclude soft drinks from SNAP eligible foods. And the governor's kind of already signed this one. How soon could retailers see the change at checkout counter, and what kind of technical hurdle do you think this creates for some of the point of sale systems and so on?
Well, this is an interesting question, and the answer to your question is, well, nobody really knows right now. So there are two major federal programs dealing with food assistance. The first is WIC, Women, Infants, and Children. And from a business perspective, what happens with WIC is the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, provides a specific list with individual UPC codes, each individual product code, on it, to the business owner, so that if someone comes to the checkout and they are WIC eligible and they scan an item, the point of sale system, when you're checked out, knows whether or not that is or is not a WIC eligible item. So with WIC, you have a specific list of items that are eligible. With SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, with SNAP, it works differently. Every product is included except for a specific list of products that are excluded. Think tobacco, alcohol, heated food, that kind of thing. What this bill would do is say that we're going to add more items to the excluded list, specifically, quote unquote, soft drinks. Now, there's a definition of soft drinks in the bill, but nobody knows exactly which products are going to be included. So if you think about things like Pedialyte or Powerade or Gatorade, those will likely not be eligible for SNAP if the state of South Dakota submits a waiver. What did the bill say specifically? The bill said that the state of South Dakota needs to submit a waiver to the United States Department of Agriculture by September 1st of this year, requesting that those soft drinks would not be included in SNAP benefits. Then it'll probably take a month or two for the federal government to approve that waiver, which they almost certainly would do. And then the state has 6 months after that to implement. And so the nice thing about this is we probably have a little bit of time here for businesses to prepare to get ready to make this change. The downside is we're not exactly sure what that change is going to look like just yet. And it seems likely at this point that we might even have one more legislative session before that would need to be implemented. And so hopefully we can get some folks at the state who can give businesses a list of products that would no longer be SNAP eligible. This is really important because the number of new products, especially I think soft drink products, changes on a daily or weekly basis. And so you can't just create a list and then set it and forget it. You have to regularly update that list, and somebody's got to do that and let the businesses know which items are eligible for SNAP or which aren't. And so we're going to have to see how this comes together. Like I say, it's probably going to be several months before implementation, but it's quite another change for businesses.
Wow, that does sound like quite an undertaking, and then the businesses themselves, that'll be a lot to implement and get the right, everything in place, the right people too. So, wow.
Well, yeah, and you're reprogramming all of those systems, and then there are penalties if you don't implement the program correctly. And so for businesses, it's definitely going to be a change, and we're going to be working with them, on the implementation to hopefully make sure that they can get that right.
Well, and speaking of penalties, we come across employment was a major topic this year. House Bill 1209, sponsored by Watertown's Representative Josephine Garcia, targets the E-Verify program and requires businesses with more than 50 employees to verify worker eligibility within 20 days of hiring. What is the Retailers Association's take on penalties for noncompliance, which, if I understand correctly, could reach $2,000 per violation, I think?
Yes, there are pretty significant penalties. The nice thing about that bill, House Bill 1209, is it failed. And so that is not going to become law. You're right. It was Representative Garcia's bill. The first iteration would say all businesses, regardless of size, regardless of who your employees are, would need to utilize the federal E-Verify program for every single new hire. And so it didn't matter if you were hiring your own kid or your high school classmate or your spouse or your best friend or somebody you've known for 30 years, you would have to complete the E-Verify program for every single new hire that you had. That was amended on the Senate side to recognize kind of that there really should be some reasonable exemptions in here for small businesses and, folks that and that kind of thing, because you already have to create or produce an I-9 form and then retain that in your records whenever you hire somebody. So that was amended on the Senate side, and then it actually ended up failing ultimately because they were trying to amend it still another time. This is one example of just a number of the new regulations that this legislature was attempting to put on businesses, and luckily we were able to put that bill to bed.
All right. Well, let's talk too then a little bit about, on a lighter note, House Bill 1201 passed. This allows booster clubs to use bingo and pull tabs for fundraising. We've got a lot of those kind of active booster clubs here. Does this present an opportunity, you think, for local retailers to partner with clubs on different events?
Absolutely, yes. So as a purveyor of small town establishments, you go around the country right now, whether it's, Watertown or other smaller communities in the area, it is not uncommon at a bar or restaurant or other places to find a pull tab machine. And folks, if they're not familiar with pull tabs, it's literally just a dispenser, and they're the little cardboard tabs. They usually have 5 tabs on them, and it's sort of like a scratch-off lottery type game. Well, South Dakota's law was a little bit antiquated. Anybody who's been over to Minnesota is familiar with pull tabs for a number of years, and a number of South Dakota businesses had them, even though South Dakota law probably, I stress probably, did allow those things. And so now another Watertown representative, Matt Roby, sort of recognized that, hey, there are a number of businesses that are doing this. And so let's make sure that 100% that the law would allow that. And so his bill, as you noted, 1201, would, and passed and was signed by the governor, would allow businesses to have those pull tabs with a few restrictions. One of the restrictions would be that the beneficiaries of those pull tabs would be a nonprofit. And so you see a lot of town, I know that, say, the Watertown Lakers hockey program, for example, has pull tabs. It's very common for like a fire department or a VFW or somebody else to be the beneficiary of those pull tab dollars. And so that starting July 1 is going to clarify the law to make sure that that practice is legal.
So when you talk a little bit about the budget and data centers and taxes, we touched on that a little bit in the beginning. We saw a few of the bills fail that have limited the growth of the data centers themselves. Where do we stand on tax relief for the average Main Street business owner heading into the rest of 2026?
Well, I guess one thing I'd say about the legislature over the last couple of years is it hasn't exactly been small business friendly, and we're not going to see a whole bunch of tax relief for the small business owner. One of the things that did happen was reduction of property taxes for the owner-occupied property taxpayer, but that is largely coming at the expense of new sales taxes. We're going to see an increase in the statewide sales tax in 2027 by 0.3%. So that's going to go towards owner-occupied only property tax relief. You know, the governor's proposal, Senate Bill 96, is a new half-penny county option that would go towards owner-occupied property tax relief. And so you're going to see increased sales taxes in a number of areas, but also if you're an owner-occupied property taxpayer, a little bit of property tax reduction in there as well.
Okay. So let's touch on this for just a moment with the elections coming up, the primary. Without getting into politics, if you will, how important do you think it is for business owners to be engaged in elections and, kind of being involved in that process?
Well, I'd say hugely important, Steve. I mean, if anybody's following what's happened in the legislature over the last number of years, it's very clear elections matter. The June primaries are coming up on the 2nd of June. Early voting starts on the 17th of April. And so you can go down to the county courthouse after April 17th, and you can get a ballot and you can early vote, for the candidates that you support. It's going to be, I think, tremendously important that individuals who care about these things, who are interested in the process, would turn up to vote at the polls. I can't stress enough that getting the right people, civic-minded people, people who are thoughtful about things, people who don't really have a burning ideology, but who are statesmen, people who are thoughtful about what the future of the state and their communities would look like, rather than just trying to check a political box. All of those things are tremendously important if we want to see the policies implemented that actually move our state forward.
All right. Well, now let's talk about if people are feeling a little overwhelmed by some of the changes and all the things that are going on. How would you advise people that they could lean on the Retailers Association for some help and guidance?
Well, obviously, we've been around for a long time. We've been around since 1897. We're 129 years old. And throughout that time, our mission has really been three things. We are here to provide information to businesses, particularly small businesses, whether it's tax policy or alcohol regulations or, food safety, any of those kinds of things, or anything else, frankly. We're a resource for businesses. Give us a call. Look us up on the website, sdra.org. More than happy to provide information and help businesses navigate some of the challenges. So information is certainly number one. The second thing that we've done for a long time is that advocacy work that we've been talking about, for the last number of minutes. It's making sure we're trying to keep taxes low, regulations reasonable, South Dakota a great place to live, work, raise a family, and do business. And so advocacy is our bread and butter. And as I mentioned, we were in like 42% of the bills that were introduced this year. And then the last thing that we've got money saving services. I mean, we've got about 4,000 businesses from around the state, and we can use the power of that to get reduced cost services, whether that's, vision and dental insurance or reduced cost shipping or, music licensing if you're a bar or a restaurant, credit card processing, health insurance, those kinds of things. And so we basically, our entire purpose is to make sure that we're serving the businesses of South Dakota, and we're passionate about it.
Yeah, even the magazine that comes and the newsletter that comes out alone is packed full of information that business owners, I think, no matter the industry you're in, you guys, 240 bills you're tracking, that's almost ridiculous. That's so much work.
It's not almost ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It is 100% ridiculous. And I'd say we've got a tremendously experienced team. We've got a number of our staff members who've been here for many years. I've been here for 8 years now. Many of our team has been there longer than that. We've got a crackerjack lobbying team. Between the three of us, a guy named Bill Van Camp, who lives and works in Pierre, Doug Abraham, who works at the May Adam Law Firm, also in Pierre, and myself. Between the three of us, we're looking at, I think, more than 60 years worth of legislative and lobbying experience, and they're good at what they do. And so we're out there, pounding the pavement every day to try and make sure that we can ensure that businesses are appropriately represented and that they're getting their fair shake.
Wow, absolutely. Well, I want to make sure that I always do leave you a minute or two. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we wrap up or anything today?
Well, I'd say, Steve, it's an interesting time for businesses right now. We've got a lot going on both at the state level and nationally. There's, of course, a gubernatorial primary coming up here in June. We've got a lot of things going on nationally with volatile gas prices and some of the international engagements that we're getting into. Tariffs are still a thing. And so for business owners, if they have questions, if they need just a little bit of guidance, by all means, give us a ring. Look us up on the website, sdra.org. Just Google Retailers Association. Will probably be the first thing that pops up, And so we understand that it can often be a lot to navigate. We talk about new nicotine licensure and changes to SNAP and changes to sales tax rates and all those kinds of things. If we can be helpful, by all means, get in touch with us and we'll do what we can.
Absolutely. And there's so many industries you guys touch between ag and insurance and restaurants, and you named them all. So definitely reach out to you guys, and we appreciate being a member, and you guys have a lot to offer. So we appreciate everything that you're doing out there and working with us as well. You're a great partner. So thank you for working with us and joining us today as well.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Appreciate you as a partner as well.
You bet. Well, we look forward to the next visit. I think we've got a couple of these left here, so we'll be prepared, and I'm sure we'll have a wealth of knowledge with you next time too. So we appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Steve. Take care.
You too. Thank you.